Hi everyone, this is Dan from Headmania, and today we're gonna talk about the Sennheiser 620s. These are the first closed version of in the 600 series, and I have been a, a big fan of the 600 series for a big while now. Actually, my first serious headphone in this journey that I had, I think in 2019, was with the 650. That was my first serious headphone. Before that, I had the 598, and that was the first big leap and the first time I've heard the sound that was like wow, you know. So this I still own the 650. This is an older model. It's Kiss mode, so I'm gonna use them to compare them a bit. And I would say that I want to first say that I tested the headphones on the Rogna Wavelight DAC and the Bliss KTE headphone amplifier, which also has a high impedance output mode, which is very helpful in this situation, as it was with the ZMF Atriums. Check the review before this, and you'll also in the written review you'll see the entire system that I use to test the headphone I'm using to test the headphones in general. So first of all, one thing that I noticed is that, you know, this Sennheiser 650 have the detachable cables. Unfortunately, in this case, it doesn't. So this is not a detachable cable. It's a bit, I mean, this was a bit of a disappointment, especially since I played around with these 650s with a lot of cables throughout the time, and it helped with choosing the signature that you wanted for them, and it made a difference in the sound. So I would have wanted the 620 to keep the same format actually, because it's the same 600 series, but that's life. It's from my perspective, it's a bit of a disappointment. But let's go into how it actually sounds, because I heard this for the first time in the München high-end audio show from 2024, and I was actually quite interested by the sound because it presented something that I was actually usually missing from the 650 series or 600 series in general, and that was the bass. Yeah, I mean, I love the headphones. I still love the 650s because it has an excellent mid-range, excellent vocals. It has a very decent soundstage, holographic soundstage. It still sounds good today, right? Also a very clean mid-range, clean sound in general. And if you ask me, the treble is quite nice. I like the treble because it's natural, it's smooth. It's not something that peaks or anything, and it sounds even great with classical music as well. Now, in this case, so what I disliked about 650 in general is the bass. The bass is not extended as much and is not as necessarily punchy. It actually depends on the system. You can get it to sound quite punchy, but I felt like the decay is not there in terms of speed, right, and control. Now this is not a perfect bass either, but it's definitely much more engaging. And to hear this bass from the 600 sound signature, is actually very interesting. I wanted to hear this for a while now. It is not the most linear bass, so you will get a peak around 100 hertz, a dip afterwards in 200 hertz, and the interesting part is that the sub bass is a bit more linear and present than with the 650s, and you can actually hear that. And because of that peak and dip afterwards, and because of the sub bass presence, the bass experience is a bit more energetic. It hits a bit harder. It doesn't feel like it's lingering too much. It is not as clean in the bass region, I would say, but it's definitely fun. I've actually had a lot of fun listening to electronic music with these headphones, right? So in general, Sennheiser 650s were not my first pick into that genre. So this is actually quite interesting. I still think that they kept the mid-range very well presented, and it still has the good presence. It has the good details. It's not as linear, I would say, but it is good. It is very good. It is also a natural mid-range. The treble is not as linear as with the 650s, and not as smooth. I would say it has a kind of a peak around 7 kilohertz, but definitely not a bad experience there either. So it's not something like annoying, anything annoying in the treble region, like a lot of headphones have in the closed. The closed headphone have like a V-shaped signature that has this annoying treble. This is not the case. This is actually a good one. The soundstage is good. It has kind of a you don't feel closed in with it. It's a good implementation for a closed headphones, but of course, compared to C150s, it's not as big or holographic. And I would say, for example, for classical music, also an interesting aspect is that the upper mid-range on the 650s is more present, is more detailed. It's between 2 and 3 kilohertz. You have a lot more presence on the 650, and that's also helps a lot in the classical music and maybe others instrumental music. And I would say that while this is not bad at all, I prefer the 650s because of the more detail in that area, a bit more natural sound stage in general, a bigger sound stage. The decay is more is a bit more natural on C150s as well. This is a bit shorter to some degree, but I would say that for the instruments, I felt that the decay is a bit more natural on the C150 as well. Now, for classical music, I would still pick C115. That actually was quite. I was impressed how I still enjoy listening to classical music on that headphone. This is not bad at all with classical music either, but it's not doesn't have that full experience in the upper mid bass, for example, and lower mid-range presence and upper mid-range presence are better on the 650s. And because of the detail in the treble as well. But for electronic music, for high-paced music, this is much more fun, if you ask me. Right? You need to test to see if it's the sound signature that you like, because it's a bit an interesting frequency response here. And let's look at the measurements. So the green one is the 620, and the the orange one is the 650 gizmo. And you will see that you have this peak here around 100 hertz. It goes back in a dip into 100 hertz. It's a bit goes upper as well into 600, and then it's quite linear, I would say, between 200 hertz and 3 kilohertz. If you ask me, it's quite linear. But the presence is better here, as you would see here. It will be better in 650s. And of course, the treble is also a bit more linear because it has a bit more peaks and dips in the 620s. Also, you'll see here that around 4 kilohertz, it's a big dip for the closed version. So if you also look in this, let's see here in the distortion area, you will see that in general, very clean headphones, both of them. So after 100 hertz, they're actually less than 0.5% distortion. That is a very good measurement, especially for a closed headphone. The only difference is that around less than 50 hertz, it appears that the 650 is a bit more clean in that area than the 620. Because it reaches around 5% distortion in the 400 in the 50 hertz area with the closed version, but it's also more presence there, so it's part of the fun signature. It's not as, I didn't find it to be as apparent when you listen to music with it, but in general you will see that they're quite clean, so it keeps that clean signature of the 600 series. Also, you'll see that in the spectrogram, there's a little bit of ringing resonance in the 90 hertz region, and this is actually not nothing that is necessarily a surprise, considering that we have a big peak there, right, in the bass. So yeah, I feel that these headphones are quite enjoying. It was a joyful experience to listen to them, especially on high-paced rhythmic music. In general, they sound good. And they keep the magic from the 600 series. I would say that they certainly deserve your attention. They do need a system to scale with, and it scales with a better system, I would say, like the 600 series in general. It's interesting to see if you enjoy this sound signature, but I think that from my perspective, it was a fun experience. I like the headphones, and it's definitely worth a listen and a try. So thank you for watching this. Please subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.